So yesterday when I made my video talking about the new ETFs that have launched over the last 7 days or so and the inflows of money that's coming from them into the crypto market, I had said something that didn't quite sit well with me, and I started thinking about it after I recorded and so on. So basically the gist of it is that, I was talking about why things are the way they are right now with this whole bear market, right? And this decline into the abyss. And obviously one of the reasons is the government shutdown really sucked liquidity out of the market. So we have a liquidity issue, and that's sort of like getting back on track right now that the government has reopened. And another problem that has, been going around and people have been talking about is a lot of the OGs, right? The OG Bitcoin holders, Bitcoin buyers from like way back in the day that bought it like prior to 2013, bought a nice supply, and they have tens of millions or hundreds of millions or even like a couple $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. They happen to be selling right now. And when I said that, I was like, why are they not selling when Bitcoin is pumping? Why are they selling like right now? Like there seems like they seem to be selling and selling and selling, and there's no stopping them, right? Now you may think that regular retail, not retail that has like $100 million worth of Bitcoin, like regular retail, they're stuck in this whole 4-year cycle theory, and they believe that once Bitcoin closes, has a weekly close below the 50-week moving average, we're going to descend into a bear market. So they're just going to dump before things go down even further, right? So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So they keep dumping and everything keeps on going down. So, but in addition to regular retail, the smaller retail, bigger retail, the OGs, they are dumping as well. They don't seem to want to stop dumping, right? So it makes me think, like, why is that? The billionaires, they have $100 million worth of Bitcoin, they have $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. They can't be dumb. They probably have people advising them. The institutions are probably, maybe managing their funds and so on. It's obvious that, the institutions, they know that really the 4-year cycle has never been a thing. There was never a 4-year cycle. It's all based on macroeconomics, based on what happens in the economy. The same things that affect the stock market also affect the crypto market. It all has to do with liquidity in the markets when it all boils down to it, due to certain factors here and there, but it comes down to liquidity. And, the occasional black swan event, could cause things to crash like COVID, or maybe like China invading Taiwan or something like that. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But you have to think, like, why are they dumping now? And like I said in my video yesterday, they should only sell their Bitcoin when Bitcoin is at a pump, right? So I took a look back. This is the long-term holder supply net position change. So these are the holders when it's blue and it's positive, they're either hodling or they're accumulating. And when we're in the red, it means that the majority of holders are selling. They're selling their Bitcoin. And going back to what I said, we look to last year, right? So over here, they're accumulating and holding, right? And then suddenly they start selling over here as things start to gear up and start pumping at least a little bit, right? And then what do you know? Election day comes and boom, we're in the Trump pump, right? So it makes sense. It makes sense that these OG Bitcoin holders from back in the day are selling and they're taking their profits, because we had a massive, look at the Bitcoin price up here. We had a massive pump, right? So it makes sense that they're selling at the pumps, right? The Trump pump just kept on going. This, let's say November, it lasted right off until January, right? And then it sort of died out, stalled out in the last week of January, more or less. First week of February and so on, we had the whole tariff season that started. So it makes sense that things are dumping, everything is dumping, and then they're accumulating again. The prices are going down and then they're accumulating, right? So now we have a scenario right here. Let's go to the 3 month, right? We have a scenario right here where we had a very green September, right? Like in my group, things were flying. We were like It was actually absolutely phenomenal. We did like a 550x on MYX, 94x on Tutorial and BNB, 10x in 10 days on Avantis, like a 38x on Matt Ferry's Discord, and like a 30x on Giggle Fund and BNB. It's like nonstop. September was absolutely wild. September and the first couple of weeks of October, right? So it was, the first week or so of October. Then we had the flash crash. So it makes sense that if things are pumping, it makes sense that they're selling and they're taking profits. But now we get into November and we have a very, very, very red November, right? And then we have last Sunday. So as of right now, it's 6 days ago, we have Bitcoin dipping below the 50-week SMA, and everybody thinks, okay, once that happens, we're in a bear market, and the price is going down, down, down. So, it's just dropping, right? The price is going down, but they're still selling. It's like, why are they still selling, right? So it has me thinking right around this time when this started coming out, like just before the weekly close last week of Bitcoin going below the 50-week moving average, and this was started to come out. So listen here, this is rather interesting.
If you knew who was really behind Bitcoin, you would run as fast as you fucking could to sell it. I know. 100%. If you knew who owned Bitcoin or who started Bitcoin, and you had Bitcoin, you couldn't sleep at night. I know. 100%. And when the real founder of Bitcoin comes out, it is my humble opinion, and there's nothing humble about me, Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah, so the Epstein-Bitcoin funding narrative just came out. There were warnings throughout the past years. Nobody listened. When everything is revealed, grown men will cry like babies, right? So there's another speech with this guy where...
One of the great calls I made is a year ago when Bitfuck was at $19,600. I said, it's over. Smart money, sell half, keep half. My mentees lost billions because nobody listened to me. We got some Bitfucks in there, I can tell. Too bad. Shows you the stupidity. Shows you the stupidity. And I know who's behind Bitcoin. And it ain't some fucking Japanese guy in a cave. I know the guy. And when that comes out, you heard it here first, Bitcoin is going to zero. Zero. When it comes out, zero.
Yeah, crazy, right? So rest in peace to the portfolios that bought Bitcoin, who got sold the idea that it was a store of value just to find out it has been funding child trafficking. Yikes. So it goes back to what I was just saying. Like, it's like this doesn't make sense if they keep on selling now, right? Why are they selling now? It's like, are they like are these OG Bitcoin investors just another bunch of 4-year cycle zombies? It would imply that they've bought Bitcoin since before there were 4-year cycles, right? The first 2 cycles were 2.5 years each, right? First cycle ended in June of 2011, and then 2.5 years later, the second cycle ended in December of 2013. So if you bought back then, you would know that there's no 4-year cycles. You know that we're not stuck on 4-year cycles. So you would be smart enough to know that. So why are they following the rest of these 4-year cycle zombies that might have just joined crypto, might have gotten involved in crypto just this year, or maybe this cycle, or maybe even the last cycle, and they only have these blinders on, just focused on the Bitcoin halving and the fact, or the theory that there might be a 4-year cycle, and they don't look at anything else. They only look at the charts. They don't look at anything else related to all the economic data and what goes on and what actually causes the cycle. They think that just because when they're doing their TA and something happened like this last cycle, it must happen again, because it always happens that way, right? So are these OG Bitcoin investors really 4-year cycle zombies as well. And why do they keep selling? Why can't they just wait to the next pump for Bitcoin to go up to 150 or 175, 200 and so on? Why can't, if they just missed the last pump, which was just like less than 2 months ago, right? It was in the beginning of October when it was 126K. If they just missed that, why don't they just wait, like an extra few months, right? For it to pump again and beat its all-time high. Why do they keep selling? Why do they keep selling right here? So you see, it went up, right? You can see right here, there's an actual curve right here. It went up, right? So they were selling a little bit less, and then suddenly this date came around, which is right around the, the same time period when the Bitcoin weekly close happened, and the same time period that all this started to come out. And they're selling more. They're actually selling more. So it's rather interesting. So yeah, it's laughable that Bitcoin Maxies think that it matters who Satoshi is. So yeah, this is the 15th, right? This is all this started happening the 15th. When I saw this, it was last weekend. So yeah, so let's dive into this a little bit further. So newly released emails reveal Jeffrey Epstein linked money helped fund Bitcoin core development. So then I go into this article right here. So emails reveal Jeffrey Epstein money financed Bitcoin core development. Use gift funds to underwrite this, which allowed us to move more quickly and win this round. Thanks. Former MIT Media Lab director Jiaoqi wrote to Epstein an email titled Digital Currency Initiative. Right, so new emails released this week by the House Oversight Committee revealed that financer and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein assisted MIT Media Lab director in funding, so I guess this is his last name, Jiaoqi Itu, right? In funding MIT's digital currency initiative, and that at least some of the funding was directed towards Bitcoin core development. Well, public reports hinted that some of Epstein's funding may have been directed to the Media Lab DCI, which at the time served as a main funding arm for the first digital currencies reference implementation, Bitcoin Core. MIT's independent investigation of the scandal described mentions of Epstein's in concurrence with DCI as cursory, finding only a single instance to which E2 arranged for a meeting between Epstein and his Bitcoin students. The emails now shed new insight into Epstein's connection and influence in the early Bitcoin and cryptocurrency community. In September 2019, Ito handed in his resignation after the investigative journalist Ronan Farrow revealed that the Procedures Research Facility had received funding from Epstein. MIT had disclosed that the financier had donated a total of $850,000 to the institution, of which $525,000 were directed to the Media Lab. But Farrow claimed that MIT Media Lab had received $7.5 million via Epstein, including an anonymous $5 million donation from Epstein associated Leon Black. The correspondence between Ito and Epstein now appears to confirm that Black did make donations to Epstein to Ito's Media Lab. So here we talk about, here's that sentence where 10 days after DCI's founding, Ito wrote in an email to Epstein, use gift funds to underwrite this, which allowed us to move quickly and win this round. Thanks. The rest of the email contains a forwarded message to which Ito describes the success of the founding of DCI and describes the opportunity to swoop in after the collapse of the Bitcoin Foundation, a nonprofit which previously served as a main donor to Bitcoin core contributors. So yeah, I mean, this goes on and on. I'm sure you can. Epstein associate Leon Black confirmed of a Media Lab donor. Yeah, it just goes. Another thing right here. So Brock Pierce was personally invited to and attended Epstein's Mindshift conference on his island in 2011 before he founded Tether in 2014. Yeah, so the connection is there. Look, so the founder of Tether. And so Gary Gensler, the head of Goldman Sachs Media Mergers and Acquisitions Department in New York from 1984 till the end of 1991, Gensler would go on to teach blockchain at MIT before becoming the chairman of SEC. Yeah, all of this, the connections are real. So it is rather interesting. So this goes back to what I was going to make this video about. Now, we have a situation here where we attempt to convince Bitcoin Maxies that Kaspa is the best possible replacement of Bitcoin, right? Kaspa is like lightning fast. It's faster. It's the fastest blockchain out there. You know, it's at 10 blocks per second. There are plans for an upgrade to 100 blocks per second. It is like incredibly scalable by comparison to Bitcoin. Now with Bitcoin realistically, it needs to like double or triple in value every single cycle from here on out. If it doesn't do that, it's not going to be worth it for the miners to actually mine it anymore, right? It's going to cost more to mine it than it's actually worth it to actually mine it. So there's going to be a day when that multiplier in Bitcoin just doesn't happen anymore, and it doesn't even do a 2x in a single cycle. And when that happens, it's going to be way too inefficient, way too costly to just mine Bitcoin, and then the whole thing is going to collapse. Now, when that happens, obviously Kaspa is going to be there, right? Because that's not going to happen with Kaspa. Now, you know, and when it comes to all this scalability and all the mining, the ease of mining, the less power it takes, and the cost efficiency, and you know, everything that all the good stuff about Kaspa, right? It is highly advanced. It is a fully implemented Go stack. You know, it is something that, you know, there's a lot of talking points we can talk about why Kaspa is better than Bitcoin, right? And now we have another talking point. Like Kaspa wasn't invented or funded and founded by the most prolific child trafficker in history, right? So, so that is a talking point. That is another thing we're going to say. We're like, wow, that's why Bitcoin sucks. And that's why you should buy more Kaspa, because it doesn't have that type of background. It doesn't have that type of backstory. Now, I don't know if this is the reason, but it's rather interesting that I'm like, why on earth would the OG Bitcoin investors who have like $100 million worth of Bitcoin, have like $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, why would they be selling when the prices are going so far down and making it go down, down, down? This is why I've been saying as of recent, like, I think that Bitcoin might actually go down to that 75, 70K mark, or even worse. And it's going down pretty damn fast. So if you're an OG Bitcoin holder and you want to sell and you didn't sell, you know, last month when it was 128, 126K, why are you selling now when it's like, you know, it's like 80K? Like, why don't you just wait a few months for it to go back up? It's really, really weird. Like, are they dumping because of that? Is this guy's words right here gonna be like the thing going forward?
You fucking could to sell it. I know. If you knew who owned Bitcoin or who started Bitcoin, you had Bitcoin, you couldn't sleep at night.
Yeah, so is that the thing? I don't know. Then if that turns out to be the case, is Bitcoin going to be decoupled from the rest of the market? Is like crypto going to take a really big tumble, bigger than any crypto winter that we have ever experienced before? It's, you know, it's really interesting to think about it right now. So if that's the case, we're in for a rough time. It probably isn't the case, but I'm just pointing it out there that this is another talking point for Kaspa Maxies. Speaking of which, Kaspa at 3 cents. Oh man, it's like, it's crazy right now. And like, I'm restraining myself from trying to buy more Kaspa, but the goal of my community is to find the best imaginable coins out there. When they launch, we use software to do it. We process tens of thousands of tokens every day. And we've been pumping like every single day, taking profits. Even this week when it's red, we just had a token yesterday. They pumped 400% yesterday. Another one, it was like 230%. It's just off the charts. Like, even these red days, we're still pumping. Today, there was another one. It was like 180% and taking profits left and right. And, you know, like, as everybody knows, like, or at least, you know, a lot of people do, yeah, I specialize in swing trading. So we build our bags. A lot of people join my community said they never actually seen somebody that trade the way I've traded, and they wish they would have done that a long time ago, because they would have been so far ahead in terms of profits. So if you're interested, click the link in that description and stay far ahead. And you have to think about it like this. You have to ask yourself, if you're already in a community and you're not earning like a few $100,000 per cycle, or at least tens of thousands of dollars per cycle, you have to just pause and just think, take a long thought about it, and like, are you in the right community, right? Like we just did a 550X on MYX in September. We bought it in May. I called it in May. It went to a 550X by September. It was 4 months later, right? Same thing in April. I called tutorial and BNB 94X just 5 months later. That was in September. A couple of tokens did like a 30X on Giggle Fun. It could, went up, took profits, came back down, went up, took profits, it's like me and my group, we got it all set, all going on. And it's like my extreme goal to get us all one day chilling on a nice fancy, do I still have one over here pulled up? Here we go. Nice fancy, this is a concept yacht, but yeah, we chilling one day, sipping martinis or a cold beer. I sent out a poll. Different people like different things apparently. Glass of whiskey, and just chilling on a nice yacht with all the gains that we're making, right? Because sometimes in a green month like May, we were getting overwhelmed with the amount of, oh my God, with the amount of gains we're making. Like absolutely overwhelmed when you get into a green month. So click the link in the description below. And like I said, just pause and think. If you're already in a community and you don't have the type of performance, like here's a list. I should have added de-aging AI just a couple of weeks back. Did 130X de-aging AI. Called it in the end of September. Did 130X just a couple of weeks ago. So click the link in the description below and think about it. Give it some thought. Like, are you as successful as me and my members in my community? Are you as successful? Do you have the amount of tech that my community has? Do you have swing trading software to help you swing trade, right? Do you have software that can assist you with your trades? Do you have all-time high alerts? Do you have alerts when your favorite token gets a centralized exchange? Do you have all of that? Do you have a list of tokens that are brand new, that have been scanned, like every single aspect of them, their founders, their funding, their activity on X, everything? Do you have access to all that type of software in the community, right? And is it giving you like the best possible tokens that are going to pump? Like every time you see a green bubble, you can almost guarantee that's a pick from my community. Like a gigantic green bubble in crypto bubbles. That is most of the time a pick from my community. When you see that thing saying like 800X, 1000X, and so on, right? A gigantic green bubble. So pretty green right now. It's pretty cool. Well, maybe we'll turn into a green day. Hopefully it happens. Hopefully we get some pumps. And if you can't say that you're that successful as me and my community members, I have $1,000 bounty open. Anybody you can find me another community that has the same tech that I do, has the same track record that my community has, right? Easy $1,000. I've had this bounty open for over a year. Nobody has claimed it. So that should tell you something. Click the link in the description below. Click that like button, click that subscribe button, and I will see you there. And my fellow Caspians, don't forget that new talking point. It's going to be killer.